Welcome to the Deep Dives, where we take these big buzzy ideas and really break them down to see what's actually useful. Today, we are strapping on our running shoes, setting our alarms for an hour. That frankly feels unnatural because we're diving into Robin Sharma's huge self-help phenomenon, the 5 a.m. Club. It's just the ultimate promise, isn't it? This idea that if you can just wake up before everyone else, you're not just more disciplined, you've somehow unlocked a secret level of success. Boosting your creativity, your energy, all while the rest of the world is still asleep. Own your morning. Elevate your life.
It is an incredibly attractive idea, and it has a major thought leader behind it. Sharma is a big name in the leadership world. Most people know him from his earlier book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Our sources point out that he advises, everyone, rock stars, royalty, top CEOs. He knows his audience. And this book, The 5 a.m. Club, which came out in 2018, it's interesting because it packages all these lessons inside a fictional story. It's about an entrepreneur and an artist who meet this eccentric billionaire, and this billionaire, who learned from a guru called the Spellbinder, he shares the secret to world-class success. And it all starts with that 5 a.m. wake-up call.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Our mission for you, listening right now, is pretty clear. We're going way beyond the hype and the fictional story. We're going to distill the core method, absolutely. But more importantly, we're going to look at the real-world critique. And then we'll compare Sharma's advice with what we know from behavioral science about habits and, sleep. We really want to figure out if that 5 a.m. rule is necessary, or if the real lesson here is just about disciplined action, no matter what time your alarm goes off. So let's start with the absolute heart of it. This non-negotiable idea of waking up at 5 a.m., Sharma calls it the hour of maximum human splendor. He says it's when you have the fewest distractions and your brain is at its sharpest.
Exactly. And the key to making it work isn't just getting up, it's the structure he provides for that very first hour. He calls it the 20-20-20 formula.
The victory hour.
The victory hour, right. So it starts at 5 a.m. sharp. The first 20 minutes, from 5:00 to 5:20, is for move. Intense physical exercise. And this isn't just about, getting your blood pumping. There's real neuroscience behind it. Intense exercise immediately lowers cortisol, that stress hormone.
Which is usually high in the morning.
Exactly. And it also releases something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is basically, it's like fertilizer for your brain. It helps you think faster, build new connections.
So it's not just about burning calories. It's a chemical reset. You're fighting the day's stress before it even starts and literally priming your brain to learn.
Precisely. You're priming the pump.
Yeah.
So after that, you move into the second block, 5.20 to 5.40, which he called reflect. This is all about deep peace, some internal work. He suggests journaling, meditation, quiet planning, really focusing on your goals before the world starts making demands on your time.
Okay, and then the final 20 minutes is for growth, for input.
That's it. 5:40 to 6 a.m. is grow. This is when you study, you read, you listen to something educational. The whole idea is that it's a holistic approach. You've moved your body, you've reflected on your purpose, and you've learned something new. The argument is if you do that, the rest of the day just sort of takes care of itself. You've won before anyone else is even out of bed.
But wait, why that specific order? Why is the physical movement first? Wouldn't you want to do the deep learning part when your brain is supposedly freshest, right when you wake up?
That's a great question. The sequence is very intentional. The move phase is designed to change your body's chemistry, to get rid of that stress and give you that BDNF boost. It makes the next two phases, reflection and growth, much more effective. You're clearing out the mental clutter first, which he thinks is essential before you can do any real deep work. And to do this day in and day out, he says you have to strengthen what he calls the 4 interior empires.
Okay, the 4 interior empires.
Yeah, he argues that mastering your inner world is the real foundation for any kind of long-term success. And they're all connected. First is mindset, which is, the psychological part, your thinking, your optimism. Then there's heart set.
Heart set. Emotional intelligence.
Right. How you manage your emotions, how you relate to other people. And then the last two are health set, which is physical fitness, and soul set, which is about spirituality and self-discovery.
So it's this incredibly integrated system. Success isn't just getting a promotion, it's the outcome of building this really robust internal self. But what happens if one of them is off? Like, say your mindset is great, you're super optimistic, but your health set is terrible.
Well, that's the whole point. They're all connected. If your health set is off, say you're only sleeping 4 hours a night, that immediately tanks your mindset. It makes you less optimistic, it drains your heart set, so you're less patient. Most people, he argues, only focus on mindset. But the true masters, they work on all 4, holistically.
Which brings us to the biggest hurdle for pretty much everyone. How do you actually make the change? It's one thing to read about it, but another to actually get up at 5 a.m. every day.
Right. And for that, he introduces the 66-day habit installation protocol. He says this is how long it takes to reach the automaticity point, where the new habit just becomes second nature.
66 days. That's a very specific number. Does behavioral science actually back that up, or is that just a really marketable number?
It's a bit of both. I mean, studies show it can take anywhere from 18 to 254 days for a habit to stick. So 66 is definitely in the ballpark. What's really interesting is how he breaks it down. 3 phases, each 22 days long. The first 22 days are the destruction phase. This is the hardest part, where you're breaking your old habits, like not grabbing your phone the second you wake up. Then the next 22 days are the installation phase. The new routine starts to feel a bit more normal, but it still takes effort. And finally, the integration phase, where it finally becomes automatic.
That structure is so appealing. The idea that there's this clear, timed path to mastery. But this is where we have to look at the self-help industry itself. Our sources really dig into this counter-narrative, that it can be an infinite cycle.
And that's a critical point. Is the goal to actually solve your problem or to keep you in the cycle? One critique we found pointed out that authors often say their new book is their best work yet. But then a couple of years after the 5 a.m. Club, Sharma launched a big course on it, saying it covered things he couldn't add to the book.
The classic commercialization cycle. Read the book, then buy the course for the real secrets.
Exactly. And the industry is huge. It's projected to hit, $25 billion by 2025? A lot of that is driven by FOMO, the fear that everyone else knows some secret you don't. But the sources also talk about this written high. You read a book about success and you get this little dopamine hit. You feel like you've accomplished something, but you haven't actually done anything.
Oh, I think we all know that feeling, the intellectual rush, which leads right into the results gap. The book overpromises, and the readers, well, we underperform. You can read a dozen books on startups, but that doesn't make you a founder. Reading is not the same as doing.
And the practicality of the 5 a.m. rule got hit hard in the critiques. It just assumes a very specific, almost privileged lifestyle. One reader talked about trying the 20-20-20 and then just being so exhausted she went back to sleep until 8:30.
Right. It just messes up your whole day.
It completely screwed her routine. And it's just not practical for parents, for people without flexible jobs, or for people who are, genetically night owls. The critiques called it pie-in-the-sky pages for ignoring basic chronotypes.
And we can't ignore the criticism of the book's literary style. It gets called cringy a lot for the forced motivational quotes. And I have to share this detail because it's wild. At one point, the mysterious, all-knowing guru character just randomly twerks.
He does, and that is certainly memorable. But I think it's important to separate the packaging, the weird literary choices, from the actual framework underneath. If we ignore the twerking guru for a second.
If we can.
The core ideas about structured time and intentional growth are still powerful. So let's pivot away from the strict 5 a.m. rule and talk about what science says actually works for changing behavior no matter when you wake up. The absolute first step is your sleep foundation.
That makes sense. You can't just shave off sleep at one end to add an hour of productivity at the other.
No, it doesn't work. The NHS says adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So if you're serious about 5 a.m., you have to be serious about being in bed by 9 p.m. It's a huge lifestyle shift.
So what are the non-negotiables for better sleep hygiene for anyone?
It's the classic stuff, but it's critical. 1, no caffeine after 4 p.m., or at least 6 hours before bed. 2, no intense exercise within 3 to 4 hours of bedtime. And 3, this is the big one for most of us, no electronic devices for an hour before bed. That blue light just kills your melatonin production.
Yeah.
Oh, and during the day, getting natural daylight, especially in the morning, is absolutely crucial for setting your body's internal clock.
So even if the 5 a.m. thing is too rigid, Sharma does have other high-impact ideas that are more flexible, like scheduling 30 minutes on a Sunday to just plan out your week. That alone gives you a huge sense of control.
Absolutely. And that idea of dedicating 60 minutes a day to learning, that's huge. Our source material had a great takeaway here. Using your commute to listen to audiobooks or podcasts. If you do that consistently over a career, you could reclaim up to 3 years of lifetime learning just from that one habit. That's a staggering amount of knowledge.
That completely shifts the focus from when you wake up to how you use the time you already have. But how do you lock in a new routine? It's so hard to go from, I want to plan my week, to actually doing it every Sunday.
This is where we get into proven psychological strategies. The key is using implementation intentions. Basically, you create specific if-then rules.
Okay, give me an example of that.
So instead of a vague goal like, I'll exercise more, you make it specific and cue-based. If I finish my last work email, then I will immediately change into my running shoes. The trick is to link the new habit to the end of an existing solid routine. It's much more powerful than linking it to a time like 5 p.m. You also need to do what's called coping planning. You have to anticipate where you're going to fail and make a plan for it.
A pre-mortem on your own willpower.
Exactly. If you want to eat healthier, you don't just plan your meals, you plan for the moment your coworker brings donuts to the office. If there are donuts in the break room, then I will get a glass of water and walk back to my desk.
You have the response ready to go.
It's already decided. And finally, self-monitoring. You have to track your behavior to see what cues are triggering your bad habits. That's how you find the best place to insert the new ones.
At the end of the day, it's that feeling of success, that satisfaction, that keeps you going. The habit becomes easier, it becomes automatic, and that feeling is the real reward, not some external thing.
So we've taken the deep dive into the 5 a.m. Club. It offers this really inspirational, structured framework, the 20-20-20, the 4 empires. But the real key to success isn't the specific time on the clock. It's the consistent action and the smart habit planning.
That's the core of it. And the thing about self-improvement is that it's never really finished. Greatness means you have to keep challenging yourself, keep pushing just beyond your comfort zone, even after you've mastered a routine. Otherwise, a good routine can just become a comfortable rut. So the question we'll leave you with is this. What small, slightly uncomfortable challenge can you add to your daily routine starting today to make sure you keep growing? Whether your alarm goes off at 5 a.m. or 7 a.m.,